Seconded. Tom Broski.
Nicole D. McGrath.
Debbie.
Vinnie Canella.
Robert Carr.
Mike Kusa.
All right, we'll do Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Any amendments to the agenda? Any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. Let's do the approval of minutes for 4/8/25.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 4/8/25 Board of Ed regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you.
Pre-K 3 last year, and this year he has her for Pre-K 4. She has done nothing but bring out like the absolute best in him. He was an anxious, scared child last year. It was actually very difficult having him in the program. And this year he had her, and she has brought out a completely different side. He loves going to school. At dinner, we share our favorite time of the day, and it's always at school and something he has done with Miss Ortiz, from doing yoga with her, from learning the planets, so many fun things she has done. And all the other parents, they see it too. Like last year, they saw a shy little child, and we don't know that child at home. At home, he is completely different. And now everyone kind of knows the more outgoing child he has become. And so I've heard a little bit of background of what might be going on, and it seems like it might be unjust. And I would just urge you guys to look into it, because I feel like Quaker Farms could be losing an absolutely incredible teacher. I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Without getting too emotional yet, so I
Yeah.
agree with everything that she says.
Yeah, she's just wonderful, and yeah, it would be a shame to lose her. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Go ahead and have a seat.
Hi, thank you.
So right now we're doing audience to citizens.
Okay.
So your opportunity to speak if you'd like. So if you'd like to speak, just step up to the podium
Okay.
and give us your name and your address.
Okay, I will quickly.
Yeah,
Am I
absolutely.
jumping on a turn?
It's all
Sorry. So my name is Marissa Cummings. I live at 6 Still Road in Oxford, Connecticut. So I also have a son who is in the preschool program. And I just wanted to say that I have been extremely happy with this program. He has flourished. He loves school. However, this past year I have been having a few concerns with his development. And the team has been responsive and willing to work with me. And in that experience, I was able to meet Miss Ortiz. And I have just heard from, even though my son is in Miss Menzies' class, I know the classes spend a lot of time together. She was in a PPT with my son. She stepped up to the plate when Mrs. Menzies was on maternity leave. And also, I went and read in her classroom, and you could just feel the energy and the love that she has for her students. I'm a special educator myself, and when I was in there, I really got a pulse on the classroom and how much the kids were loved and how much she was accommodating for them. So I just feel whatever happened or is going on, I would just wish that she either has information to understand how to better her teaching as a new teacher, or if it's not because of that, that we really think hard about supporting her and keeping her where she needs to be with her students and giving her what she needs to grow. I come from a district that had a very strong preschool program, and Quaker Farms has such a beautiful community, and the teachers definitely have that potential. And I think with the right support and guidance, you have a wonderful program that can only get better. So I would just like to speak for Ms. Ortiz and hope that there's something that can be done for her students and for the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak? Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Thank you for speaking tonight. Appreciate that. Okay, so now we're on to board correspondence and communication.
Yes, in addition, to support what the parents were just saying, we received 5 emails between May 4th and today regarding Ms. Ortiz and letters of support for her. Back on April 23rd and May 2nd, we received 2 requests, one of them being a FOIA request related to the budget and budget reductions. And then we received one more email today regarding that article that was in the New Haven Register about anti-Semitic episodes going on in schools. And we also had a letter from the Board of Finance Chair that Bobby wanted me to read, so let me pull that up quick, from Jack Kiley in regards to the reduction from last month. So at the April 22nd Board of Finance meeting, we discussed the $366,521 reduction in the Board of Education budget. I was previously informed that the reduction would be absorbed by expenses that were expected to be spent but will not materialize. This statement is correct, but when stating this to the Board of Finance, I said this information came from the Board of Education. This is not true, and no member on the Board of Ed ever told me this. I apologize to the Board of Education for my error and will enter this correction in the Board of Finance recordings. So that was from Jack Kiley, and that was sent to us on April 28th. And that, I think, was everything, unless somebody else has anything. I didn't get, but I think that.
Did anybody else get anything?
Okay.
All right, item number 5, information items, the student representative update. Brandon.
On Thursday, May 1st at OHS, there was decision day. All seniors who are attending college wore a shirt to represent what college they were going to, and they were all given gifts to kind of celebrate them moving on. Also on May 1st, OHS's National Honor Society held a recording ceremony for all senior members. Beginning last Monday, May 5th, students at OHS have been taking AP exams for their AP classes to demonstrate the learning that they had throughout the year. On Wednesday, May 21st, OHS will hold the senior award ceremony where they will honor the highest award achieving seniors. OHS is having a pep rally on Thursday, May 22nd to honor our spring sports teams. And also at this pep rally, there's going to be a students first faculty basketball game. Also on Thursday, May 22nd, there's a senior art show at OHS from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the main lobby. And lastly, OHS's prom for both juniors and seniors is next Friday, May 23rd at Anthony's Ocean View, and it's from 6:30 to 10:30.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, next, report of the superintendent, Dr. Adamowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've got a couple of things to talk with you about tonight, and then some of the discussion items on your agenda are also related to that. First of all, I want to thank you for the time that each of you spent with me talking about your board service and objectives and aspirations and vision for the district. Lots of good ideas, some divergent opinions, but a shared sense of purpose to do the very best for Oxford students and their families. There were 3 emergent themes that I wanted to bring to your attention that I think we can use as an organizing principle for our work together during this transition period toward a new superintendent. And these are themes that either the board unanimously, the members unanimously identified, or the vast majority identified as a priority. The first, which is in your attachment, is to enhance the board role in setting direction through in-depth discussion of educational issues. I think that was unanimous on that one. And I think you appreciate your role in terms of setting direction for the district, and understand that you really can't do that without some in-depth exploration and discussion of major items, right? And if you're not dealing with the major items, this will degenerate into minutia, right? So to accomplish this, I've had discussions with the chair, with the officers, with many of you individually around the need to restructure your meetings so that can be accomplished. And as we look around the state, we find that most boards will have one business meeting per month where they act on business items, right? And if there is a second meeting, the second meeting would be termed a workshop session, in which there would be no votes taken, but it would be an opportunity for in-depth discussion of issues, particularly those issues, those discussions that would precede the board taking action on some major proposal at their next meeting or in the future. And this is really an opportunity for the administration to test these proposals, for you to be able to get an in-depth understanding of them, but also to be able to fashion them and shape them, right? In terms of your direction setting capacity or responsibility as a board. So we're going to be talking about that type of meeting later under the discussion items tonight. And then the second was to hold the superintendent and district administrative team accountable for goals and student outcomes. And that certainly is a direct responsibility of the Board of Education. We're going to be reviewing goals tonight, progress report on the district's goals. But as you go through this, I'm sure it occurs to you that it begs the question, are these the right goals? What do they relate to? What data point motivated that goal? And how do they fit into the big picture of the direction you're setting for the district? To do that, you need a strategic operating plan. And I'm suggesting that one of the, if you adopt the workshop concept for your second meeting of the month, that one of those be devoted to a strategic operating plan. It's laying it out. What is it? What are the elements of it? What is the timeline for it? What is the board's role in terms of vision? What is the role of the superintendent? What's the role of stakeholders to go through this process? And what we're talking about here is a 3 to 5 year strategic operating plan that can be adjusted and revised each summer at your board retreat based upon new data that would be collected from the previous year. The third is that there is very high interest, at least among the majority of the board, in increasing the success level of all Oxford High School students through development of a career technical pathway to graduation. Now, this begs the question of understanding what a pathway to graduation is, which requires an understanding of what our Connecticut graduation law actually says. What is the relationship of the pathway to the capstone, which you have dealt with previously, and what are the resources and capacities necessary to offer such a pathway. So there's a number of questions here. We happen to have one pathway at the high school currently, but only one. And so this requires an understanding of how can you develop more pathways, and with what is required, what is necessary. How could you develop one that would be a career technical pathway to graduation, and also understand what the resource commitments would be in doing that in terms of the development of the high school as a school. So this is a very, very important issue, because this is an area where there's lots of room for improvement at Norwalk High School, at Oxford High School, because the pathways were not developed in conjunction with the capstone requirement, right? So, typically these are 5 not unrelated, but related electives. And the capstone would take the form of the application of skills and knowledge learned in those related courses to a real world problem, right? So I think that we could get started on that with a fundamental workshop session on the graduation law, how Oxford High School is currently organized, how that organization could be adjusted to align with a greater number of pathways over time, and then specifically how we could approach a CTE or career technical education pathway. And again, I want to thank you for this input. I think, amazing and encouraging for me to experience how close all members of the board are on their aspirations and the kind of direction that you're looking to set for the district for the benefit of students. So again, more in the workshops later on tonight. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is really for awareness, but this is something that will be, it will need to be an item for your engagement in the near future. And that is the need for a school climate survey. For the last decade, most districts in the state have administered an annual school climate survey. There are three major ones in the state. One is the one that I had experience with in Norwalk, which is published by the National Center for School Climate. There's also one called Panorama, and then there's a third one that some districts use as well. I want to clarify, and there's a piece in your backup material that says introduction. I want to clarify that when we talk about school climate, we do not talk, this is not a reference to social or emotional learning. It is not. It is not a social emotional learning program. It is not a social emotional learning survey. What it does measure, though, on the second page are a number of dimensions of the school environment, which is the climate, right? Students and teachers and parents' perception of how that environment is working for their child, right? And so this is just as important as the academic testing that you would do in that a school can look at that. They could look at their lowest area, or they could look at an area that falls below the national norm, and they can say, okay, this is an area we're going to identify for improvement. And so it's helpful to the school in terms of setting its goals. In fact, many schools throughout our state will have several academic goals and at least one goal that derives from the climate survey. Now you'll see that, on that second page of that handout, what you are measuring here are things like rules and norms, sense of physical security, how secure do students feel. Do they feel that there's a teacher that they can go to when they need help? Social and civic learning, support for learning, respect for diversity. If the child has a difference or perceives how other children who are different are being treated, school connectedness, the physical surroundings, right? Are they clean and neat and so on? And then there's a couple for the staff only, which rates the leadership of their school, as well as their own professional collegial relationships. To what degree does that exist? So in January, you had passed a school climate policy. And you probably recall this was the CABE policy that is now required, that the State Board of Education is now requiring. That policy requires you to have an annual school climate improvement plan. And the improvement plan needs to be based on two things. The amount of disciplinary incidents that occurred the previous year, whether it be bullying or harassment or anything of that nature, and the results of a school climate survey. And the state is offering a survey for free from Ed Advance, from the Ed Advance group, which has a contract from the state for this, or you can also do one of the commercial surveys, which is nationally known. The key thing here is everybody's fine. The sergeant is here for the MOU.
Not here for you, Ben. He's not here for you.
I did steal her flowers.
So you're going to need to have this, right? We'd like to get to the point this year where we're able to identify what survey is going to be used, schedule its use as part of your regular assessment program next year. This is also going to require norming the data collection of your school, what is the specialist that's shared?
The school climate
The
specialist.
school climate specialist, I want to say dean of students, not dean of
I was
students.
a coordinator of
It's
conduct.
a coordinator of conduct.
Mike's turn.
Coordinator of conduct.
Mike knows what we're talking about.
Right, so we have to standardize the way that person is collecting data. And so it would be that data and the results of the climate survey that informs your school climate plan for the year. So I just wanted to get this on your radar screen. Our staff is going to be working on this, and we'll have a recommendation shortly for you to adopt a school climate inventory or a school climate survey. Any questions on either thing in my?
I have a quick one. With the climate survey, is that done internally or is that done from an outside source?
The survey has to be, valid and reliable and field tested, so it has to come from an outside source that develops it, but it's administered locally. And if you go with a private company, this is all anonymous, right? So, people don't identify who they are, whether you're a student or a staff member, when you take it, or a parent. But if you go with an outside survey, it's compiled and reported out by the company. And if you go with the state version, it's reported and compiled and reported out by Advance, who's under contract with the state to do this. Advance, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yep. Anybody else?
Okay.
Okay, discussion items. First one is status of 2024-2025 district goals.
Yes, the 24-25 district goals, you have this as a handout. And rather than go through these item by item, you can certainly read that. There are certain things I'd like to highlight here. And again, this begs the bigger picture of, what is your goal setting process for the future, and how do you determine what the goals are? If you look at that first set of implementation steps on page 1, you'll notice that's under a goal to enhance a culture of deep student engagement. So I'm not sure how many of these actually refer to or promote deep student engagement, but nonetheless, that was the catch-all for this. One of the items that you see highlighted is number 3. And this relates to something that we're going to be talking with you about later tonight. And that would be the capacity that your director of curriculum and assessment needs in terms of implementing curriculum in the schools. At the elementary level, teachers need, in addition to someone developing the curriculum and putting it out there, you approving it and ordering all the materials and arranging the training, teachers need someone on the ground that can, at the school level, that can help them, that they can refer to for assistance, or can coach them, can help them with questions and implementation issues. When we look at this at the elementary level, it's the reading consultants that you currently have that does that, primarily in the new area of reading. We really have a gap in that area at the secondary level. So the proposal is in the 4 core areas to take those department heads who currently receive a stipend for the department head work, which is content focused, and to enable them to, with a release period per day, to go into the middle school and work with the middle school teachers in those 4 areas. And so we're able to do this because of enrollment declining at the high school. We have the capacity to do it without interrupting or impacting any of the high school schedules or offerings for students. And that would be in fulfillment of one of the goals here, which was currently unmet. For the most part, these goals were met. I guess the highlight here is the accomplishment of the transition program with the Monroe school system and the development and bolstering of that. You have reviewed the capstone model. So this goal is largely accomplished with the creation of the expanded department head role. Now, the second one on page 2, this deals directly with the athletic program, developing a vision and mission. I think you're familiar with this. But anyway, there it is, and so we're considering this goal to be accomplished. If you move to page 3. You'll see that the coordinator student conduct is also the subject of another one of these goals. And I mentioned to you earlier, relative to your responsibilities in school climate, we need to standardize the data collection process because it's the one that's being used now is different than the one that was used previously by the former person. And we have to expand it a little bit as well in order to get all the data that we would need for the climate. So with that exception. So moving on to page 4, we've got, you have added the student representatives to the board meeting. I think an enhancement and expansion of that would be to involve the student representatives in the discussions that you have, especially if you have workshop sessions, where you would ask their opinion on things, their perspective, representing students would be an excellent way to more broadly fulfill this goal. And then you'll see that on the same page, there is the this issue of successful integration, development of new staff members. So this one has mixed results. What we do hope to do is that number 5, the survey of new teachers at the end of the school year. I think this would help inform an induction program for next year. When I talked with you about the board plan, I identified the fact that there were 2 big gaps in it. One was communication, but the bigger gap and more important gap is in the area of certified staff, where we need an approach to the hiring, retention, development of certified staff. And right now we have an orientation program that is pretty cold and cumbersome. It's all done online, remotely, right? You don't see a person or speak to a person, right? And so, we need to evolve that orientation program into one which is an induction program where people can assume the values, they can understand the goals, they can understand what we're working together as a team on, right? But also have a safe place where they can come and discuss their challenges and get advice and help on how to deal with the things that would occur in this first year teaching experience. So we hope that doing a survey at the end of this year, which is going to be upon us soon, will help inform that role or that need as well. If you go to page 5, we have, again, somewhat of a mixed bag. The highlight here is the wellness work that Megan has accomplished during this year. So we have a thriving wellness committee. They've had activities, they've had newsletters. Some people are opening the newsletters and actually reading them, and This has been progress, right, on this, on this front. And then we have, if you go down to the last one on page 5, this was the goal dealing with AI, okay? I think that this has been good for staff awareness. There have been a couple of sessions offered to K-12 staff, and 4 staff members are actually getting a micro-credential in this area. But this needs to be placed in the big picture of the IT program, right? And this is a perfect subject for a board management oversight workshop, where you spend a workshop session on the IT program in totality. What are its goals? What do we hope to accomplish with it? What are the needs? How does AI fit into this, right? So it's not approached as a one-off. And very importantly, how does the $500,000 expenditure for upgrading the network, which has been approved by the Board of Finance, fit into this picture, right? And so we've held up any implementation of that so that the board in the fall can be able to deal with that and pursue the AI issue further in that context. But I think from your standpoint, you want to be looking at the big picture of this. Okay, if you go to page 6, you'll see that some of these were started, but not completed due to the departure of the superintendent. These were all things that he was personally working on or personally involved in that did not involve other staff. And that is true until you get down to the last goal on page 7, where you have had the Oxford Middle School that has gotten involved with the senior center and done some activities there. As we look at page 8, you'll see the same pattern here. These are also goals that we are not recommending or we attempt to finish up in any way toward the end of the year, but they're information as to may inform whether or not you want to pursue some of these again in the future as part of a broader strategic operating plan. There.
Yeah, I want to ensure that you have my address, so when you pick up senior citizens.
Yes.
My card choice is usually a forward.
Really? Okay.
You need to note that in there, copy that into the next.
I'll have one of the students pick you up.
Okay, actually, this may be disappointing to you, but this was going to be a school bus.
And we don't have any district priorities, but
I do have a quick
we
question.
can put it in the budget.
Back at the top of page 6, we lost control of our social media stuff. Where are we with that? Do we know? Do we have any clue?
I'm not gonna put Alex on the spot, but I know they're working on it because the problem was it was shut off based on our email address, that oxfordpublicschools.org. So we can't really create another one.
His head's gonna explode.
So I know Jim is looking into a process to have like a mirrored email so that we can get the social media going back up.
So besides setting up a dedicated mailbox that regardless of who's in the district or out of the district,
Yep.
have we spun up new accounts? Because I know we were talking about that several meetings ago. So we haven't spun up the social media accounts?
Not yet. I can double check with Jim, but I know he was working on figuring out the best way to do it because obviously our accounts aren't working. It won't let us get through.
Figuring out which one to, because there was like 3 pages. It was like, which is the one that we're using?
Because I know Facebook is terrible at trying to
Yeah.
recover if you don't have the
That's
actual
problem. It
mailbox.
blocked us out. So any other additional accounts we try to make doesn't allow it to happen.
So it won't let us,
Yeah, like you can make a dummy one they know it's like a fake name.
Okay.
But I know he had control of at least one of them. But we found 3 pages total. that were
Yeah,
all
one of
separate
them
accounts.
got locked out over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
I would just like to point out that with our budget process last year, our social media stuff really provided the impetus to get people involved in voting for the budget and all that stuff. And that's because of our lack of, and we don't have the ability to do that. I'm not blaming anybody here, by the way. I'm just, like, it's really kind of hurt our ability to communicate with parents on what the budget process is, what we're doing about it, get the information out there. You know, there's a lot of information out there right now that just simply isn't true. You know, I'm not on Facebook, and the only reason I'm on Instagram is because of my business. So I'm not on any of these pages, but I do know, because I get stuff sent to me, that there's a lot of stuff out there that just simply isn't true about what's going on. So having that ability to, you know, kind of counterbalance that, I think is extremely important. So I think it's a bigger issue that we should get solved, if we can, as quickly as we possibly can.
Well, what is this site, the Oxford Public Schools Oxford, Connecticut, with the O on it? That one was viable as of, Dr. Miller posted on February 28th. So is that, can we get into that one?
I don't remember where Jim was at.
my understanding is no.
Because I think he posted the goodbye video on there, nothing else, we can't do anything else after that, or?
It was set up with his personal mailbox.
Oh, that was, okay, gotcha. So once that one was gone, then there's nothing.
So that's a very good segue to the last status comment here. And that's, you know, your awareness that, you know, if we were having this discussion maybe 5 years ago, right? You know, everything was headed in the direction of social media and posting, and electronic newsletters and so on, right? And, you know, everyone is so inundated with those now. What you're finding socially is that a lot of people don't even open them. They get so many of them, right? They're very selective in terms of which ones they even open. And among the ones they do open, they're not opening every one. And it's just, it's become, you know, a situation where people are inundated. If there's any trend in school communications now, it's to try to shift from that to a more personal engagement of stakeholders, right? Where you have opportunities to talk to people or get their view on a presentation, or have meetings in schools where the parents and staff can talk to you about the goals and the needs and the accomplishments of the school. It's something that would be more interactive, right, in terms of questions and expressing opinions and so on. So, you know, I think if we could identify any trend in communication, it would be toward that. You know, how do you personalize these conversations to some degree, and then, you know, what opportunity to give people to react to it and send their opinion back to you, or their view to you. And then, of course, you have the related issue of, you know, you want to have well-informed, educated comments, so you have to provide some information that would enable that as well. So anyway, that's the report on the goals. As I mentioned to you, you know, this begs the question as to, you know, what the goals actually relate to, your role in setting direction in the district, and how are these part of a big picture that move you toward a broader goal and a vision for the district. And so I'm hoping that, you know, your next round with this, your goals will derive from a strategic operating plan, so that you know that everything you're doing here is contributing to a larger vision and a stepwise progression toward what you have as a shared vision as a board for the school district. Any questions on the status of any of these goals? Okay. Thank you. Megan, anything to add? Megan has done a very good job making sense of these and organizing them.
No.
The only thing, I think going back to the first page, I'm very happy to see the department chairs being put into the flow into the system of this thing, of the school, and as well as the IT portion, because with AI, but also communication, as mentioned in the last things, we really need that input of what he can do, what they can do with what we have and what's necessary to get it done. Because it's been, pretty lacking in those areas.
And I think this responds also to the general need to develop teacher leadership and more teacher leadership in the district. Thank you. Okay, we're moving to the next discussion item then.
Yes.
Okay, this is the organization chart, which you have seen. And again, this was an attempt on my part to kind of look at this in the big picture as we pursue the practical need to fill an assistant superintendent's position, right? So I've identified, from this chart with you that the current, if you look at our current org chart, we have two needs in my view. One is in the area of certified staff, where the chief operations officer has had ostensibly responsibility for HR, but is not certified himself and not able to perform many of the functions in the certified HR area. And again, a lot of this deals with hiring, teacher development, having some sort of a career ladder. Let me give you an example. We participate in the TEAM project, the state project which provides mentors for new teachers. There should be some criteria for that, right? Where you say, okay, at this point in a teacher's development, maybe they have 5 years of experience. They have superlative evaluations for those years, and then they qualify to be a mentor, and they receive a compensation for that. That's just one example of building a structure for teacher development, so it's not a totally flat profession, right? So that was one of the needs. The other, which we've talked about, would be the job description for the K-12 department heads. Now, the assistant superintendent position raises a number of questions, alternatives, and options regarding special education supervision. And that is probably the most complex issue here. I'd like to be able to defer that with you to your next meeting, your next business meeting as a discussion item, because since I published this, we have a lot more, we've gotten a lot of input, we have some good ideas, but we have alternatives also to present to you. And as you know, we're trying to do this without adding another administrative position. So we're evaluating all the resources that we have in terms of special ed supervision. How might those be organized differently? What does that mean in terms of supervision and the number of supervisory positions? And how does that conform to the emerging view of the program as well? So, we have these centers now, these specialized learning centers, which are the self-contained classes at each level, right? Those are actually the areas that require the most supervision, right? So, we have a lot of resources. We have these PPT coordinator positions that have been implemented to varying degrees. But I'd like to be able to lay that out for you in totality and be able to give you 2 or 3 alternatives and then a recommendation around that. For tonight, we have 2 issues that are time sensitive. One is the job description for the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Instruction, and the other is the 712 department heads. And I just would like you to look at each of these. This first one that's coming around is the department head. This is the recommended description of duties for that. And, you know, as was alluded to earlier, this is going to be, these are going to be the 4 people, the 4 core curriculum areas that, you know, would go down into the middle school to support those teachers in those 4 areas, particularly in terms of and I just passed out the wrong job description. Okay, so here's the right one. Just hold on to that one if you would. Okay, here's the one for department heads. So this is within the current stipend, which is budgeted for. Again, the change here would be the 1 period of release time, which can be accommodated by the high school without any impact or expenditure of additional resources. And again, we're asking that you approve that tonight, give us your blessing and go ahead so that we can fill these positions while the people involved are still here and available.
Just a quick question.
Michael?
Where do we currently stand with department chairs? Because we've had department chairs, we've had, at one point, we've had 9, then we went to 3, and then we've gone from there, and I think we restored some to get a higher number.
So, Eric, you want to just give a quick overview of that?
So you're right, previously, well, there was 2 years ago, it was broken up in a way, like there was one
They
department head
bundled
for
them.
like 2 content areas, so you had content areas without a content expert leading the department. So we have one for core content areas, we have one for guidance, and then we have like a unified arts type one where it's world languages and tech and music, the ones where it's a lot of the smaller departments. So as Dr. A talked about, this is specifically those core content areas. The 612 piece was actually in the job description from last year, but with teaching a full course load, it was difficult to have any sort of connection with being able to touch base with the middle school and so forth. Even trying to do some of the calibration work, Heather ran a couple meetings, I was able to go to some with her, but we're looking to try to get the same period off for department heads so we can actually do those with more fidelity instead of trying to get coverage for them to try to meet at the same time, as well as possibly being able to go down to the middle school during the day, meet with their grade level teams. One of the things we hear a lot from our PDEC, the Professional Development and Evaluation Committee, is on those full PD days, that's when we tend to do vertical integration with the transition years, 8th to 9th grade or middle school, high school, and Quaker to goes. But that's, it's difficult with it getting out at different times. It doesn't happen often. So the thought process here is we're able now to, with that going down to 4 classes instead of 5, a little more release time to have this person be able to do some of that work throughout the year as well, who's also a content expert in that area down at the middle school.
So what would be the size, like the quantity of staff doing this?
It's the same.
Same
So
number?
as we talked about, there's no, the stipend would stay the same.
Okay.
We're not getting rid of or adding any department heads.
Okay.
It's just by going from a full course load to taking one of their classes away, it would just be a little more release time, and also to do some of the departmental work We have some great work going on, like, I sat in a couple of math department meetings where they're doing some great work trying to analyze test scores and build some small group instruction and work with the curriculum, but it happens, hey, I'm teaching this period, I can do it here 2 weeks from now, so it just lead to a little more fidelity with that work happening.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm a little confused. So the position that we're looking for is a department chair that would cover all from 6 through 12 on top of what we have. So it'd be like a one person.
It would, so the same
people.
Same people, same position, and it's not that, obviously, the majority of the work would be at the high school, because they're high school teachers that
So I
cover those
understand the
classes.
department heads at the
Yep.
high school. It's the
Mhm.
middle school I'm getting confused with.
So the thought is with the release time, with more of the release time, they would have more opportunity to be able to go down to the high school to be part of maybe the
Oh,
department
so it's the
meetings
same
or.
department heads from the high school, they were
Yes.
working with the middle
Yes.
school.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was missing the key point for that.
That was actually one of the proposals at one time, and then
Yes.
it got changed.
Yes.
With the teacher not teaching one block of one course, what's that do to that level of education? You know, I mean, we're taking a person out that's actually supposed to be teaching something, and now he's becoming an administrator.
Well, they're not administrators, so they're still teachers union, the position isn't changing in regards to like unions or anything like that. And the reason we're able to do it, like Dr. Adamowski talked about before, because enrollment's going down at the high school, they were able to, the counselors and Ms. O'Brien, when they were doing the scheduling, when we looked at what would this look like, there was very minimal impact to student enrollment in class sizes.
Yeah, so I'm still trying, if I'm teaching 5 blocks, and I got 20 kids in a block, and I teach 4, whatever, you know, it's 100 kids I'm touching, and I'm taking 1 block away, you know, that's 100 kids that are getting nothing.
Well, the one block would be 20 per.
You're taking a block of 20 away, or one course. And again, with the declining enrollment, the high school is able to, we're very careful about this, to have them determine that first. And this is why we're not doing it with all department heads as well, by the way. So there would be no impact. Every student will get the courses that they want in the same fashion. But because there are fewer students, the high school will be at about 400 students next year. This enables these 4 people to be free a period each.
So what you just said, it wouldn't be for every department. So which departments are we?
Only the 4 core areas.
All the 4.
English, math, science, and social studies.
Right.
And then what will the department chair be? The person in charge of all those? Is that gonna be a separate person?
That
They
is
would
the
be the
person.
chair of that core.
Yeah, I mean, a way to look at this is to say, okay, the relationship that, let's take English. The relationship that the English teacher has with the department head, right? At the high school, well, the middle school, ELA English teachers would have the same relationship. It would be a helper, someone that would work with them, someone that would convey, the best ways to implement curriculum changes or to improve what they're doing. So it's really a mechanism to support teachers at the middle school level.
So I want to add, so this really goes back to what we've always been talking about, vertical integration.
Yes.
Okay, and because we had, obviously, the serious problem with math, is that at 6th grade to 7th grade, it was like 2 different languages. This would eliminate that problem. And that was the original reason that when we talked about department heads, which was frustrating, is that it was supposed to be this way. And going back to the whatever way, it fit any need. So that, I think, is great stuff.
Well, thank you. I probably should have started with that thought. This is a way to ensure 6 through 12 integration.
Anybody else?
Okay, the second aspect, again, that is time sensitive, is the assistant superintendent's position. So with Megan's departure, it's necessary for us to get the ball rolling on this. The hope is that the new superintendent will have the ability to weigh in on the candidates, but we need to have candidates. And so we need to get this posted and hopefully, attract some people that would be willing to do it. I mentioned to you that, this needs to be a broader position. As you all know, Megan's position sourced from her experience as special ed director. And so when she assumed the assistant superintendent position, it was a broader version of that, but she retained those duties. As you look across our state, particularly districts Oxford size, what you see is, the dominant model would be an assistant superintendent for personnel and instruction. That's what it would be called. I had the benefit of Jean Pettyfoot's input on this as well when she was here to interview for you for the search, because she has been superintendent of many districts like this, and she was able to confirm that, this is the model, or the most common model. Now, if you look at the description of duties, we would like to require the 93 certification up front with this position, so that you are not in a position, again, in the future of needing to go into an interim situation if, with someone from the outside, if the superintendent vacancy becomes available again. That doesn't mean you can't have a full search and hire somebody, but again, this is just, fundamental succession planning, where you always have somebody available to step into every position that is a key position in the district. This position would supervise special education. And, we're thinking that this might be 20 to 25% of the time of the assistant superintendent's position would be devoted to that. You can see, the other qualifications there, but I would call your attention to the key responsibilities, right? So, this is essentially the leader of the certified staff in the district, right? Who is responsible for hiring and developing them. There are significant program responsibilities here. In addition to building teacher leadership, developing pathways to the high school, which we talked about, supporting the administrators, the athletic director, promoting Title IX and 504 compliance, developing a talent management system, and being the number 2 person in the district in terms of developing goals and actually implementing them. So this is a very, very important position. The salary range was developed by going 10,000 down and 10,000 up from Megan's current salary. So the range is a $20,000 range. And, I'm hopeful that while Megan has extremely big shoes to fill, I'm hopeful that we'd be able to attract someone who can fill a good part of them. So what we're looking for tonight is your blessing to post this position and get the ball rolling in terms of recruitment and getting applicants.
Yeah, so just a couple things from me. We did discuss at some point allowing the new superintendent to decide, or at least pick Megan's replacement.
Exactly.
Thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that's important.
Okay.
I think your search consultant has said that's important.
Yeah.
So, again, that's why this is time sensitive, because right now we need to garner candidates that the successful superintendent can look at. I think we can probably go as far as, screening the candidates, getting down to a set of finalists that the superintendent can then look at and review, the superintendent designate.
So the other thing is Zeal on our meeting, was it Monday last week, Tuesday last week, they actually offered to conduct the search at no additional charge to what they're charging us for the superintendent. So I don't know how the board members feel about that.
What if the superintendent has someone that we didn't have in the pool that they worked with, that they wanted to bring with them?
Right. So, obviously, we'd have to be flexible and allow, when's the deadline is June 15th?
So it's a 30-day posting, whether we put this on REAP or Zeal did it, or we did both, right? That would basically be a 30-day period.
And whether the superintendent brings in has a recommendation, it's still gonna have to follow the interview process, and we still have to post it to the public. So whether we do it now, we wait a month or two, you have to take candidates, it's open internally,
Just
open
because they're there, we
externally.
don't have to accept any of them, we could.
Exactly. But the key decision point here is that you would be posting it as assistant superintendent for personnel and instruction, and you would be requiring a 93 and the other qualifications that you see here.
Anybody have anything?
I have a budget question.
Sure.
in the
So
budget.
we have assistant superintendent, I know this may change, this org chart may change, but we have an assistant superintendent of personnel and instruction, a special ed director. How are we gonna afford that? Because Megan's salary was both of those positions, and we've already been caught.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. You may have noted in the material that I sent you, attached to it was an analysis that Howard had done on how our number of administrative positions compare to that of other similarly sized districts. And we're right in the middle. So I don't think we're in a position, or at least I can't recommend to you, that you would add a position for the obvious financial constraints involved in that. That is why we want to have this opportunity to talk with you about alternatives and the repurposing of our current resources. And so we have a number of them. We just had a discussion about department heads. It so happens that the department head position in special ed at the high school is vacant. It's funded, but it's vacant. Linda has been doing that job in addition to her own. We have a stipend that was paid for a year for Linda to assume the director's position. We have these PBT coordinators in each school. We have, if you go through this in any detail, we have a lot of assets here. The question is how effectively are they being utilized, or how effectively could they be utilized in this model? And that's what we'd like to come back to you with some options for you to look at. But we would not be recommending an additional administrative position.
Nicole?
Why aren't we posting for ed director right now? Isn't that also a priority?
Well, I think we have to have the design of that. So you can't, to your point, you can't afford to have a special ed director and a supervisor.
Or a assistant superintendent and a sped director.
You could do that, yes. You just can't have both. And so, and all these other things as well, all the stipend positions. So we're gonna show you a couple of models that may involve more than one supervisor, or may involve just a director, or may involve a supervisor with all of the stipend positions being revised and reposted and redesigned a little bit, which is something that Megan was planning to bring to you anyway, right? So there's different ways that we can approach this, but we're not posting the special ed director's position at this current time because we don't have the model. We would seek your improvement on your approval on the model.
All right, let's just play that out though, because we got Megan leaving June 20th, you're leaving July 1st. We don't know when a new superintendent is coming. special ed continues all year round. We have ESY programs starting June 30th. We have PPTs that are gonna have to happen during the summer. Who's gonna do that?
You have your supervisor in place.
Who's currently not on this org chart?
Right, but as I mentioned to you, we have some alternatives
Okay.
that would involve one or two supervisors. Again, I don't want to just spill this all out now because this requires a thoughtful presentation, but we have a number of options that you can consider for this.
So we're,
But ESY is currently covered, it's planned, it's going on, it's covered, it will be supervised.
so we're gonna cover this in our next business meeting, which will be the last meeting we have before you leave. So we're gonna have to hash this all out in June.
Yes,
We might have a special meeting that's needed, I would imagine.
or you could do it as, at the workshop meeting, assuming your next meeting is a workshop meeting, we could have two topics.
Yeah,
So that would be 2 weeks from now, if you feel that's the most.
I'm worried about time.
Mhm. Vic?
I understand, because having another person, because they always look at the salary, but it's almost double the amount with all the different benefits that go into it. And we're on a budget squeeze, so it's something that really has to be discussed as how we do this to the thing. The biggest growing department that we have is special ed, okay? And the biggest organization chart, now that we got a starting one, is special ed, because paras work here, they work there, they're divided between all the schools and all the grades. So you never really know, if you're talking to somebody, oh, we got 5, and you go, well, somebody just told me there's none. Well, in this school, there's none today, but 5 tomorrow. So we need an organization chart to see where these people are moving around and what they're doing. And to keep adding more and more administration, I got it, okay? It's costing a lot of money, okay? And as a senior citizen and having the other thing, and people that I talk to, they go, enough, you know? And it's not just 190,000, it's all the backup money that goes into it. And special ed, I think, needs to be clearly defined as to really what we're doing. We're doing speech, we're doing all different types of things, from autism to everything else, from 504 to here. And I think the public needs to know, how is that money being divided out and how is it being handled before we, you know, add another layer of administration.
Yeah, your point is well taken. That's our intent and what we're recommending here. I think another factor in addition to the ones that you've listed is the district is bringing more students back from outside placements. In fact, our budget is being balanced largely on the fact that we have 3 additional students coming back. This refers to those specialized learning centers that I mentioned earlier and the supervision that they need in particular. And again, that's going to be one of the options we're going to have you look at. One of 3 options, I think, that are viable.
Okay, I guess people know when we bring students back in, that theoretically is a cost savings, correct?
Oh, yes, well,
I
that's,
don't think the public, especially, I don't want to say Mike, but we don't know all that. And that needs to really be, communicated clearly that, oh, you're bringing in more, and it's already going up like 30 a year, 30 children a year, students, is that some of that coming back in is a reduction. No one really has that concept that it can cost up $200,000 to have one child student outsourced. So I think that's part of our publicity, our campaign, to get that message out.
So, I'm finding myself agreeing with Nicole here. Yeah, I know, it's trap, right? I'm a little worried about time frame here too. And we've got, what is it? I can't even remember how much of our budget is in special education. We owe it to those kids, yeah, how much?
about 25%.
Yeah, but we owe it to those kids to have a clear plan. So if everyone is agreeable to this, I would like to do a special meeting at some point very early next week to give you guys an opportunity to kind of come up with the different scenarios as, you know, and maybe if it has to happen because of personnel issues or something like that, maybe it has to be an executive session or something like that. But I find,
I think the design options can be in public session, and then if you have questions beyond that that involve individuals, you can move into executive session.
yeah, I mean, I would prefer to have more information about the different scenarios than to actually vote on this particular thing tonight. And if we maybe need to have the meeting later in the week, if that gives you guys enough time, or maybe on Monday or Tuesday of next week, I think that that would be a more suitable way to do things here. I don't know if you guys want to comment on that, that's fine.
Well, just to clarify, we're not asking you to approve the org chart tonight.
Okay,
Okay, all we're asking you tonight to give your blessing to is the title and description of duties for the assistant superintendent and the extension of the department heads with release time into the middle school.
if we do that, can we caveat that we'll have a special meeting next week to discuss how things are gonna work and all that
You
stuff?
can do whatever you want, and that sounds like a good plan.
So we're not
Tuesday,
approving to
Thursdays.
post this job, we're just approving that it could be a thing,
The job description.
the job description, but not posting it.
No, we want to post these.
Does the assistant superintendent one?
Yes. Yes, it's time sensitive. We want to get candidates after July 15th, or after June 15th, so that your superintendent candidate has some candidates to look at.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't see any disadvantage to posting to start getting applications in.
Okay.
We don't have to hire anybody, we can post whatever we want.
Okay.
At least to get us an idea of what's out there. There might be the person who has some sped background that might fill the gap, but I think to start moving us along, because we are going to fall into a place where Megan's gone, Dr. Adamowski's gone.
Yeah.
Our new superintendent may not be able to start till
Right, yeah.
end of August. We really kind of have to at least see what's available to us. And at the same time as posting it, I have a real hard time with that and the sped director, because I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Right, which is something we
Fund
can
that,
solve in
yeah.
a special meeting.
So I'm just saying, I don't think we could stop from posting it to see what's out there. Doesn't mean we have to fill it.
Sue, that mic, okay?
Have we posted for a sped director though?
We have not.
No,
So do we have a job description for that? So shouldn't that go out at the same time as
We-
this?
we
I
haven't-
one?
don't know what,
we have an existing job description for special education.
But we don't really know the plan for this either, so what's the harm of posting for a sped director to see what's out there? If we don't have to accept anything, we just post for it, because the job is open, correct? So wouldn't it be time sensitive to get that out as well?
Well, except that it will send a message that you're precluding the supervisor's position.
I guess I'm not clear in my mind, the department chair, we have department chairs, this is like a super department chair?
No, this is the director of special education.
This
This is the director of
It's
special
under
education.
shares now.
Wait, I can only hear chair, sorry.
This is the full-time director of special ed that the supervisor reports to, and these other stipend positions report to.
So can we agree that we can approve the vacancy for the assistant superintendent? Have the special meeting next week so that we know, although Mike was just talking to me about the schedule, it's tight. So we're gonna have to figure something out as a board, and then get more information about the organizational chart, make sure we're not leaving any kids without any direction, without any supervision, without any teachers, without anything. And then make a decision about the organizational chart and how we're gonna deal with that next week.
You know, I think the organizational chart, it can be the last thing you do.
Okay.
You could do that at the June business meeting. I think that the time-sensitive thing is, you know, resolving the special ed issue. I think the most time-sensitive thing is the assistant superintendent's position. But in next order, it would be the special ed situation. Now, again, this all goes away if you just want to add another administrative position. But we're trying to do this and give you options in order to avoid that.
Is everybody, so we'll vote on the assistant superintendent for personnel and instruction tonight. We'll have a special meeting at some point, as soon as we possibly can, for options on the special education director and how that's gonna work. Everybody good? With that? Okay. Okay. Oh, and I think maybe what we'll do is, we'll have myself, Mike and Vinny meet with Dr. Adamowski with input from the rest of the board to how we're gonna go about doing the special meeting. Because that's kind of how we've moved to doing things like the three of us meet the Thursday before our meeting with Dr. Adamowski, and we can kind of get everything planned and on the up and up with everything, okay?
Do we need a motion?
Well, it's an action items. Vic, one?
I think, you know, somebody like Nicole's gotta have like direct input into this thing, because, you know, the details
More than welcome to
that
come
she
to us.
just came out with, you know, are things that I don't know anything about. So, you know, I could be talking completely left field. And she's, you know, has the input and the knowledge of the moving pieces there more than Vinny does, you know, or Mike, you know. So, without that input, we'll be at the meeting and they're gonna raise.
I think this is just a scheduled meeting.
Scheduling.
Yeah,
It's just a general
calendars.
clearing.
yeah, it's literally just, but Nicole, you're more than welcome to come if you'd like. We do it during the day, but,
This is Thursday?
Thursdays.
Yeah.
What time?
9.
I'm actually free Thursday at 9.
Hey.
You can help us schedule.
I can forward it to you. Just have to be invited for it.
All right,
Okay.
workshops.
Last discussion item is the workshop session. You've got 3 attachments on that. The first one is an attempt to explain the workshop session and what it is and what it isn't. I won't, you know, go over that with you in terms of you can read that yourself. I would just note that the workshop session can also be used as a time to recognize student and staff accomplishments, and also learn more about the needs of each school. So one of the things I'd like you to consider is the prospect of rotating your workshop meetings among the 4 schools. And if you were to do that, then the focus for staff or student recognition would be at the school where you're holding the meeting. And then you would invite the principal, parents, parent organization, students, to have a brief discussion with you around their accomplishments, you know, what they're proud of, what their needs are, you know, that type of thing, where you can have a little bit of engagement with people at the school level, as we, you know, talked about earlier, as opposed to just communicating by newsletter. So that would be the description. I've enclosed a sample workshop agenda. In the workshop agenda, you would start the meeting with student and staff recognition. You would have the workshop topic, which would run about an hour. And then, you know, the presentation itself might be 30, 40 minutes. And then you would have anywhere between 20 and an hour of discussion, depending on how much you felt was needed. The citizen comment, public comment would come at the end of the meeting in this case. So you would anticipate a business meeting where citizen comment is up front and on any topic. At a workshop meeting, it's at the end and it's on the topic of the workshop. So people, in order to comment intelligently, they really have to hear the presentation, be there, attend the meeting, hear the presentation, and then be able to comment on it. And then it would conclude with the board deciding what next steps, if any, or future action it was going to take. And that could range from placing the item for approval on your next agenda. It could involve taking this under advisement when you consider another topic. It could be scheduling some future action on this. It could also be sending the administration back to the drawing board with recommendations for revision, where the board would have input for revision. But you would identify what those next steps would be before adjournment. That's the basic model.
This is something that Dr. Adamowski, one of the very first things he suggested that we do during my individual meeting with him. I think that this is a good way to go about things. If we were doing this tonight, this would have avoided the issue that we just had. And one of the other things I like about this, the way we would be doing things, if we adopted this, is I'm not making a decision 5 minutes after I hear about something. I'm not making it, I have some time to follow up. I have 2 weeks to follow up with questions if I have them. I have some time to think about what the best direction is for the district and the kids and in the community as a whole. I just think that this is a better way for we as a board to do things. So if anybody else has any comment.
So finally, I've enclosed a sample schedule, right? So generally, the board would set these meetings in advance for the year. And you would have 3 types of items on a workshop agenda. One falls into the category of management oversight. Now, management oversight, those are the things that are non-instructional, where you're not managing it, the staff is managing it, but you need to have an understanding of it and you need to exert oversight over it. These are things like transportation, food service, IT. And, given the, this was a suggestion from Michael Kuza when the officers met the other day. You have this allocation of $500,000 for a network upgrade, right? I think there are very few board members that may understand what that would actually be used for, right? And you may not be able to answer questions about what it would be used for. So it's particularly in light of that, I would recommend that for your September session, because your superintendent will be involved in an entry plan at that time, right? They will probably, be in the position to share their entry plan and review the data with you in October, which is the basis for developing the vision for the future. Because the vision is it's the bigger, brighter, better picture of the district 5 years from now that reacts to the current state, right? So here's the current state. What's the vision for the future that makes it better? So this was a sample of what you might do during the first year, right? When you're developing a strategic operating plan. There are some things which are highlighted in bold that would remain every year. So you would probably do 2 management oversight sessions per year. Those would be different topics, again, depending on where you felt the need was greatest. You would do a budget workshop in January. And I would recommend that you do a mid-year evaluation review of the superintendent in February of each year. This can be done in executive session, but it's an opportunity for the superintendent to report on their goals and to do it in a way that you can have a full and frank discussion of where you are in various items and are there obstacles, what should you expect that would happen in the future and so on. And then the board retreat, let's assume that this is the second year now. The board retreat is the opportunity to look at your data from the previous year, make adjustments to the strategic operating plan, and set your goals for the following year. Your goals for the following year serve as a basis for alignment with your superintendent's evaluation. And so the way you would hold, let's get back to that second item that there was strong board consensus on. You want a way of holding the administration accountable for the accomplishment of goals. The way you would do that is the strategic operating plan would generate your annual goals for the year. The superintendent would be evaluated in part or whole on the accomplishment of those goals. So every goal would be purposeful, and we're not in a position of wondering, what a particular goal relates to. Because they don't fall out of the sky. They're all directly related to the strategic operating plan, which is the direction that you have set for the district.
I have a question. I want to circle back, just why I still have it here, is that when somebody resigns, this has always been a problem. And I get requests, like Mrs. Ortez leaving, there's always stories and things going on about. Now, I thought I read that it was like a state mandate is that the board gets a written explanation, not just personal. I don't know as a board how we operate when somebody says, I'm leaving personal. I never left the job and said personal, So without that kind of feedback now, especially with, I think I'm saying the right, Ortez leaving, there's a controversy over this and a deep one. And so how, as a board, how do we operate? This is not a good way to operate for us. Maybe it has to be executive session, I'm not gonna talk about it.
This is a privacy issue. Whenever a person resigns, they have the option of using the personal designation. Now, if you were to terminate a person, that would be subject to hearing, and so that's a whole different story. But these are a person resigns to move out of the area. A person resigns to take another position. A person resigns for personal reasons, to either avoid non-renewal or because things are not working out. That's the personal designation. Now, what I thought you were going to say, and what I'm concerned about, is that in terms of
exactly what I'm gonna say.
in terms of the law on this, right? Connecticut General Statute requires you to approve the hire and the resignation of every certified staff. So you were doing that, going back in your agendas, you were doing that until I think in 2019. And then we have a gap where you have not done that the last few years. Now, again, you're required by law to do that. So that's why you're seeing this on your agenda now, right? And it may look strange to you, but the personal reason is a common designation. And again, it's generally when, used when a person is not retiring or taking another position.
I understand.
But
there's
to
always
Vic's
a rule
point,
when
like,
it's
there's
around.
obviously a story behind this one that I'm not privy to. So how can I accept her resignation if she doesn't really want to resign?
Well, you should not be privy to it. The person has resigned, and they resigned for personal reasons. So,
But obviously, maybe not this person, but people do vent their reasons, because the things that I've gotten is reasons. They vent it publicly, and now somebody, I look at our role as like Supreme Court, is that, we make decisions and stuff, and we speak as, non. And so if somebody's calling me about this, and I look like, well, I don't know, I have no clue what is personal. And so, I'm looking like, I
I
don't care.
think your response is this is a personnel matter, and you're not going to comment on it.
For the tenured teachers, if they do dispute, let's say there's whatever discipline, we need to not ever know. We legitimately need to not ever know, because if it gets grieved, it comes to us and we need to be unaware. We need to be neutral parties. And if we're told from one side, we then lose the objectivity of being able to be neutral, so then we can't hear the grievance. For a non-tenured teacher, it's at will, from my understanding. And that's not at our level. It never will be. So knowing the why, it's one of the downsides. We shouldn't know the why. It's personal. And, you know, in education, their careers are affected, reputations matter. And if it's public knowledge of a why, and in any case, if there's a legitimate reason, it could end their career in education. So we don't want to ever participate in that.
Anybody else? Okay. You ready to move on, Doctor?
Yeah, so I think that ends the workshop discussion. So if you want to try this, we've got a couple of opportunities, May and June. And by the way, I just want to clarify, I do not want to contribute to any, deadline decision-making for the district. So, I can have flexibility during the month of July if, you need to go a little further. But, we do have to keep moving on these things, right?
Okay, number 8, action items.
I don't think there's any certified staff.
There is no, so 8A, approval of hire, there is no certified staff. 8B, acceptance of resignations. Certified staff, and there is an attachment.
So make a motion. Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to accept the list of resignations for certified staff as attached.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I think we kind of just had it. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the superintendent to, I believe it says to fill a position, but I think to post the job description. Yeah. As written.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Already had that too.
And just the only thing to add to that is, when we set the ending for like how long the job post is open, when do we say, or what are we saying for the start and end date for the job posting? Would it be, let's say, tomorrow till June
15th is what we have as the application deadline. Now, we'll give this to Zeal as well.
Right.
We'll post it on Read, we'll give it to Zeal. And
Perfect.
Any other discussion? All righty, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. 8C, 8D, excuse me, authorization to develop 6 to 12 department head position stipends in one period of release time in the core curriculum areas of English, language arts, math, science, and social studies.
Was that a motion?
No, I was just reading it.
Okay,
I don't want to be here much longer than I am right now.
So I'd like to make a motion to authorize superintendent to develop 6 to 12 department head position stipends in one period of release time in the core curriculum areas of English, language arts, math, science, and social studies.
All right, do we have any discussion?
Second. We did.
Oh, I'm sorry, second. I really want to get out of here.
Second.
I still don't fully understand what we're doing there, but,
It doesn't cost more money.
okay.
I have one question.
Yes.
This has the union, looked at this and they're fine with it? with the
Yeah.
release time? Perfect. Thank you.
Good question. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Do we have an opposite? Did we have a?
I thought, don't we have one for special ed?
No.
Department
We're
chair?
just doing the core courses.
Yeah.
We're not
Just,
eliminating
But we,
anything.
but we do not have a department
Okay.
chair for special
All right.
education.
that position is vacant.
Okay,
No, we don't have
Oh,
a
I'm sorry,
department
that
chair.
position was cut. It's the
We have
high
a
school
PPT
PPT coordinator that's vacant.
do we have any opposition? Okay, abstain, and motion passes. I won't read this one, son. You go right ahead.
Okay, approval of MOU with Town of Oxford for school resource officers as attached.
Okay, so Brian and Lynn Sargent are here. I think they want to say a word or two about how this was developed.
Let's get a second first, and then we'll have
Sorry.
them up. Can we get a second? Second. Okay.
All right, so the reality is when I came on board in August, I conducted several audits. This is one of the ones that we described as a deficiency that the town of Oxford has specifically within MOU with regards to the PD. Took us 9 months, we finally got there. The reality is the SROs have been in the school district for 16 years. We've never had any language that governs them to be in the schools. This would just bring us in compliance with the Connecticut General Statute, specifically 10-233-M. Where it says that any school district that has SROs employed need to enter into an MOU specifically with the PD or the town. Prior to having it signed off by the first selectman, we wanted to bring it to you guys to get your input. I will note that this is a boilerplate. There are some nuances, specifically number 8, with regards to the payment. Oxford is an anomaly where 100% of the funding for both SROs is 100% funded by the PD to include when those SROs are absent. It's not reflected in that document. I was told by our Shipman and Goodman that as long as we have something tangible, we can work on an amended copy. Sergeant Roach is here to fill in and also as a sign of good faith to show exactly what I'm talking about. It'll be reflected. But this is just so we can move forward with something tangible and obviously make us in accordance with the Connecticut General Statute.
Sorry, which guy, I think?
I think you explained it well.
I totally wanted to put you on the spot.
No, I'm happy to be here, but if you guys have any further questions that Brian can answer, I'd be happy to help you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any discussion? We have the second, right? Yeah.
Yep.
No discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Okay, so we will get this down to the first selectman for his signature. I'll meet with him, go over it with him. But again, this is a required agreement. And it's fairly boilerplate, so. And of course, we want to express our gratitude as well for the town funding these positions.
All right, I guess it's me now. I'm gonna hit all the topics I want to hit, but I will keep it brief, as it is 20 after 8. Budget vote on, what's today, the 13th, so 2 days from today, 15th. Quaker Farms from 6 to 8. If you are here in the audience and you are able to vote, please go vote for our budget. If you're on the on YouTube, please do the same. Our superintendent search is moving along. We were informed our application process ended on Sunday night at midnight. We have 20 total applicants for the position. We will be meeting over the next few weeks to discuss how we're going to whittle that down a little bit. And as of right now, we do not have anybody's application that has not been distributed to us. I'm guessing within the next few days, maybe sometime early in the week, that'll happen. And once that happens, we'll meet and we'll figure out where we go from there. But I was very happy with how many applicants we got. And then, Mike put a downer on me, said, I wonder how many of them are qualified. I was just happy that we had 20 that were interested in the position. Dr. Adamowski and Vinny and Mike discussed some potential ad hoc committees that I might want to add. The first one relates to the CTE stuff, getting some curriculum in for, in helping kids out that don't have a college career path. And again, that's kind of in its infancy right now. And the other one that I was potentially looking into, that the three of us discussed along with Dr. Adamowski, is athletics, which would include after-school activities as well as intramurals, not just sports teams. And that is all, oh, actually, no. Now that we have actually discussed Dr. Pogonevsky leaving, I would like to, as the board chair, I would like to express my gratitude to you, Megan, for all that you have done for this district. When you took over and led the charge for a few weeks, you did a fantastic job. We could not have done it without you. I also I told you when we met, when you handed in your resignation, that I thought you would be a fantastic superintendent someday, and I 100% meant that.
Thank you.
So thank you from me personally to you for all that you've done for the Oxford Heights district.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
I know the resignation was accepted, but I didn't take this decision lightly. I want everyone here to know that it was a difficult decision for me. It's an area of growth that I'm looking forward to, but I won't forget my time here. And please know that I'm always a phone call away, and I'm happy to help in any way that I can to support everyone here as well as the Oxford students. They're all still family to me, so thank you.
Thank you. And that is all that I have. Subcommittee reports. Facilities, Joe is not here. You want to give a little?
I can give a little, and I don't have the exact date, but we had a water leak, a sizable water leak at the middle school that I'd like to just call out that Mike D'Agostino and Gino were able to be on site all day. I think they got notified by the firehouse when communication was cut off when the firebox went down.
Like
Quick
here at 1 a.m.
Yeah. But quick action, they managed to keep it at minimum. Apparently, we're getting good at handling water leaks at the middle school. It's not the first, probably won't be the last, but through their quick action and working with our vendor relations, we were able to open school up without any delays, which was amazing. That was definitely a high concern. So we've had, I guess, HVAC, not issues, but just tuning that we have to do when we get to the point where we start needing air conditioning. Air Temp is installed the hallway heaters and the bathroom heaters that were delayed. They did some roof flashing, I guess work is complete. The high school, the bathroom project is coming along very well. I believe the CO certification is going to be potentially coming up this week. So that's exciting that we'll have the bathrooms for graduation. Very exciting. I don't know, maybe no one else is excited. I'm very excited that we will have more than just porta potties as options. So all in all, things are going well. And,
Thank you. Deb with curriculum.
Oh, wait, Vic over here is gonna.
You had a question?
Sure,
I'm sorry.
absolutely.
I didn't see.
With the water leak, because it's been time since it's happened, that I had to ask around to find out what was going on. I understand that it caused, probably $40,000 worth of damage, and it seems like certain things weren't done by the contractor now. That damage, if we pay for it, or we report it, it goes on the insurance, and our insurance goes up. And the biggest nut that we always go through is that the insurance company always comes in with $1 million bill, drops it down to $600,000. So here, this is an important thing. Is this going to impact our insurance, or is the contractor going to fix it because it wasn't made right?
So a claim was filed with insurance. A claim was filed with insurance. Matter of fact, we got the check back today. So it was $36,520 is what the actual cost was. We actually got a check for $30,520 because we have a $5,000 deductible. And so we've already reimbursed the cost that came out of it. So we'll have $30,000 claim against the literally hundreds of millions of dollars that you have in property here. I can't say that that's going to be a major we're gonna go up by a major amount, but again, insurance companies, you know, they have to make their profit too, and that's what happens. I agree with you, it could possibly impact that, but I don't think it's that big of a claim that it's gonna matter all that much. That's
Well, my concern is as a homeowner, you know, I made a couple small claims, and they said you got 2 claims, you're no longer insurable. And the insurance companies, I read all the papers, and every insurance company comes in at $1 million, 900,000, and they drop it 300,000. So I don't have the most confidence in the insurance company and their ability to, they can equate something. And so I'm just concerned, maybe in this case, it's $6,000 that we funded ourselves and not go through the insurance company and have another $10, $20, $30,000 added to our insurance bill. I'm just throwing that out as a homeowner, what
I think homeowner is different than commercial. They're two different types of insurance. Again, it's insurance at the end of the day, but it's completely different when because don't forget, you're insuring the whole town, right? Everything in the town, because the town is with us, we're with the town, however you want to word it. So it's a much larger, your home is worth $500,000. There's $500 million worth of insurance that's going on here in the town. It's a lot bigger of insurance coverage. So 30,000 on that is not the same as 30,000 on your $500,000. You got to equate things. In commercial insurance, it's completely different than homeowners insurance.
Okay, so this is just a decimal point.
I think it will be. I honestly do think it will be. So.
Yeah, all right.
How do you know if Mike looked into whether this was contractor's fault or?
So one of the things, the insurance, I don't know if he looked into it, it's contractors.
Right.
I would have to believe it is, just based on what he told me about not insulating the pipes the conduits as they come down through the walls and not putting stop in there. But again, that's just my personal opinion, what I've heard. I do know that and I don't know if he responded back to them, because I got a question from the insurance company, is did we have the pump or whatever, the valve that failed in the fountain? And if we had it, because it was repaired, right, so that it wouldn't happen again. And because they were gonna go back after, the insurance company was gonna go back after the pump, after the fountain manufacturer for a faulty pump, for a faulty valve pump. So I would have to ask him at that.
Yeah, okay.
But that's the one question they did get back.
Anybody else? Deb, you're up.
We had our curriculum meeting on May 5th. We talked about the middle school personal interest projects, which were really cool. Some of the kids did projects such as engineering. One student did survival skills. These are aligned with the OHS capstone project. We talked about ways of, in the future, letting the community know what the kids are doing, because they're doing phenomenal things and we're just not getting that word out. So we're going to work on that as far as communication. We had a great presentation from Stacy Mulex, thank you, who is the literacy coach from K-5. It was a phenomenal presentation. I do have documents that we were given. It's been redacted with teacher names. So with the board chair's permission, I'd like to be able to scan these and send it to the board members so they can see the amazing work. She had binders of curriculum for each grade, and her presentation was phenomenal with her supporting the teachers, and we actually have teachers when they start know what they're supposed to be teaching. For a very long time, we haven't had that. So our next curriculum meeting will be either June 9th or June, I think it's the 9th if we can make it work. And then we're going to ask Megan to come back and talk about the SEL with the pilot. And then English department chairs, we talked about that a little bit. We're going to come back to that. It's on my list to come
Possible English request for a change of resources for.
So when there's
kids.
resource changes for English and science.
You guys talk
history,
social studies, civics, that's.
We have the teachers come back to the curriculum committee for approval to make sure that the material is what we wanted, and talk about some pacing guides K-5. So our next meeting will be either I think the 9th.
All right, thank you, Deb. Nicole, policy and follow.
Again, Nicole, you're not kicking him.
I was just wondering, because since the meeting, have we had any contact back from Junior Achievement?
I've talked, Amy's willing to do, so next year, we're talking about bringing it to GOES. But there's like 3 different versions that we're trying to figure out what version would be best.
I can help you there.
Okay, and we do have junior achievement up at the high school. We have a couple kids involved with the program up there. Where they go to a business
Okay, I guess we can talk about that later.
Yep. So we can add it to the
We discussed this in depth.
Yes.
Okay, and 2 people in junior achievement obviously doesn't fit the idea of the
No, no.
program I'm presenting.
No, I hear it, yes.
So we can add to the agenda for the next curriculum. Add to the agenda. Add to the curriculum.
Thank you.
Nicole?
So we have 2 policies that are down for a second read. Unfortunately, the wrong policies were posted to the agenda, so we're gonna have to table that
Okay.
and revisit it the next time.
Anything else? Did you want to do?
And I can, I'm
Okay.
just gonna read it over.
Vinny's gonna do the finance and, insurance and
We did
personnel.
finance last Thursday. Howard gave us a great report as usual, and it has an executive summary, so I can just read it. So we just kind of reviewed operating budget summary for the year, and Howard gave us an initial projection on where we might end the year. We looked at the budget transfers, which are not attached, so we might have to wait and do the vote on that next time too. Yes, Steve can do that. And then we looked over some other balance reports on the grant funding, the non-lapsing funds, as well as the central and student activities. There was no new activity of note on the personnel report. And then Howard reviewed the electricity analysis through the end of the year, as well as the new P card program that we have when the card has been issued and we'll begin using it this month. Okay, cool. That was the executive's high-level summary.
Do the transfers with Steve not here, is it okay to wait?
You can wait, yeah. that's no
Okay.
problem. Yeah, just- At some point, you'll have to get it.
Yeah. Okay. Booster.
So as Brandon said, May 1st was decision day, and they got a gift. That was from the Booster Club. We've been doing that for what, 2 years, 3 years? They get a little light bulb full of candy with sunglasses that says your future is bright. So we hand those out. We have $4,500 allocated this year for 8 different scholarships.
We added a, sorry,
We
we added
Maybe
additional.
we should just have her.
Oh, go ahead.
Just
Sorry.
messing with you, Sue.
We were, only gonna do 4,000, but we had a tie, so we were able to with, we just had the great give and we had raised money, so we made it 8 scholarships for 4,500. Our senior lock-in is on June 13th, and if anybody would like to donate, we are appreciative of any donations, or if you'd like to come and help out. It is all night, so it is a lot of fun, so please come and enjoy. The grad walk's gonna be June 12th, the graduation's gonna be June 16th, and we're kicking it off with the grad parade starting at Quaker Farms. We're gonna start lining up at 4:30. For teacher appreciation, last week, we supplied breakfast compliments from Baker Bros, Dunkin' Donuts, and ShopRite last Wednesday morning, and then Thursday, we did lunch from Roses. And I think I've covered everything.
That's all you sent me?
Yeah, no, I was trying to like go off my head, just like, okay, what else am I missing?
Molly, PTO?
So PTO had the Books, Bites, and Family Delights last week. It was a huge success to have the food trucks and the book fair, and the front lawn of Great Oak was just a big, it felt like you're in the cul-de-sac and all the kids were just playing and having fun. These ladies on the PTO put it together in less than a month. So bravo to them. They did a fantastic job putting it together. It was so fun to just see the kids being kids, playing, having fun, running around with food, and it was a great night, and it was really successful. PTO had the plant sale this week, so if anyone wants to get some garden stuff, go get them. And our last meeting of the year is on the 22nd, so.
Okay, we're second audience of citizens. Anybody want to speak?
Good job, Stan.
Just say your name and your address.
Lisa Santilli, 1 Sarah Drive. So, question, you had mentioned about social media, about things being put out there on social media not being true. And it is hard to say what's not. There was a flyer that was out there that had all the budget information.
Yeah.
Was that put out by Board of Ed? Do we know where that flyer came from?
So I believe that flyer came from the online material that is open to everybody.
Okay, because it made it look like that it was from Central Office Board of Ed, because it had the symbol.
Branded, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay. And then,
Howard did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
oh, okay.
So we had,
There we go.
so I had received a request from a couple of parents about the infographic Apparently, this was put out the last year or so. It was done on the predecessor's computer. We don't have access to that, so we couldn't get it. So Howard did one, and he did a very nice job. We sent it to the parents that had requested it, and that's where we are.
It's literally the same information that is on the publicly available source on the budget.
Do you think if something comes from you guys, it would label on the bottom, sponsored by, or I don't know, just, so as a parent, we know
What's official?
what's official, what's not, because then another post came out yesterday that says that if the budget fails, there will be 2 6th grade teachers, their positions will be eliminated. So it's just kind of confusing as to what's real, what's not.
Right.
And then going, and I don't wanna, it seems like, you know, positive feedback's been going on with budget, but hypothetically, not hypothetically, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, if the budget doesn't pass on board stuff on the education side, what happens with the assistant superintendent position? Do you guys still move forward with that? Because feedback over the past years has been that the administrative side, it's very top heavy. So would you look at, maybe go back to many years ago where you had remember years ago, business manager, was it Rosemary Hanson? It would be Howard, but that was one position, you didn't have an assistant superintendent. So would you look at?
We have
eliminating
not
teachers?
discussed any cuts other than what was required to get down to the Board of Finance stuff.
Okay,
So there's been, I'm only speaking for the board right now, I'm not speaking for the district, the administrators. There's been no communication whatsoever if the board doesn't pass between the administration of the district and the Board of Education.
so there's no talk of eliminating teacher positions?
Unfortunately, that may have to happen,
Okay,
but it has not happened yet.
okay. All right, so we want the budget to pass, obviously.
Absolutely,
So it's-
yes.
Everybody needs to get out there and vote.
Right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
So we're gonna meet on Thursday.